enormous, vast, tremendous, massive, immense, great, gigantic, large, towering, ginormous, colossal, big. It's a book haul. Hi, Booktube. Welcome to the Sunset in Hawaii version of the Baby Boomer Booktuber. I'm Marilyn Maya, the aforesaid Baby Boomer Booktuber. And today is just a little haul. No, it's pretty big. It's over 25 books. I haven't counted them. But I want to thank Jackson for my partner, for being in the video with me and helping me. I was trying to recreate the Bob Dylan kind of vibe from Subterranean Blues, Homesick Blues, but, well, I don't know if that worked or not. I put these into categories so that I could present these books to you in a more meaningful and organized way, which is not a strength of mine, but we'll see how it goes. So there are a lot of readathons going on this month, and I'm going to try to take part in them in a small way, in a few of them in a small way. There's one that I don't have any idea what I'm going to read yet, and it's about the Tudors, but I'll come to that later. So the first one that I want to talk about is Shaketember. I think that's the way you say it. And I'm going to be reading for Shakespeare. I'm going to be reading The Merchant of Venice. And I think I've read this before, but I was able to get this for $1 at Book Off. So that's a good deal. I really wanted to get Richard III or King Lear, because I saw those plays in Stratford, Connecticut at the Shakespeare Theater. But Merchant of Venice, I'll take it. Okay, and for the next readathon, it's Sapphic September. For Sapphic September, my daughter, who defines herself as pansexual, gave me this book, one of her books, and it's called I Am a Woman by Anne Bannon. And this is a classic Sapphic book from the 1950s. And she tells me it's about a girl named Bibo, I think her name is. And it comes in more than one book. It's a series of 3, I think. And in this book, which I think is the second book, she goes to college and she falls in love with her roommate. And her roommate ends up marrying somebody, a man, and she runs away, Bibo does, to Greenwich Village in the 50s. So it has a lot of mix of what is it like to be a lesbian in the 1950s and what it was like in Greenwich Village in the 1950s, where it was more accepted. And a lot of things go on from there, and she really liked this book. So this is called I Am a Woman by Anne Bannon. And for the last readathon, it's actually for 2 readathons. One is for this month. It's called Mid-Year Mystery Madness, Subgenre September. And March Mystery Madness is a big thing on BookTube, and I love mysteries. So in this subgenre, they're doing sensation novels. But this is also a Victorian novel. So I'm going to read this for both Victober and for the subgenre month of September. And it's Wilkie Collins, The Woman in White. And I think, most people know what it's about. So I'm going to just read you a little bit of it for myself as well. Wilkie Collins' aim in Woman in White was to inspire the creepy effect as of pounded ice dropped down the back. Since the novel's first publication, generations of readers have experienced just this sensation. So it famously opens with Wilta Hartwright's eerie encounter of midnight London Road, and he sees a beautiful woman. I'm not going to go into more than that, except to say that it's a sensation novel, which is what the subgenre is. And it's also one of Victober's, one of the hosts' pick for Victober. So it's quite a thick book, but I'm really excited to read it because it's a mystery. And Sean the Book Maniac, who doesn't like genre mysteries, says he loved the book despite the mystery in it. He didn't care about the mystery. So I'm excited on a lot of levels on this book. Okay, so that goes for the first 3 books, which was the Readathons. Now I'm going to go into what I call baby boomer book reads. And these are reads that I feel are more me. So I'm going to start with a book that it's a very interesting book. I started reading Barbara Pym again because of Sean. And this is a book that I had I reserved for my library. You can even see the slip on it. But when I opened it, it's from 1983, at least this copy is. And I loved the first sentences so much that I went out and bought my own copy, and I'm not going to read this. But I am going to read the sentences. It's very musty. So I wanted my own copy. So this is what made me want to buy my own copy. Jane and Prudence were walking in the college garden before dinner. Their conversation came in excited little bursts, for Oxford is very lovely in midsummer, and the glimpses of great towers through the trees and the river at their side moved them to reminiscences of early days. Well, I just loved that opening, so I bought myself a copy. So the next book on what I call my baby boomer, or books that are more me, that I think are more me, is actually comes from a video that I did about the Olympics. And one of the books that I mentioned was Boys in the Boat. And I ended up getting a YA edition, which I'm really appreciating. And it says, the true story of an American team's epic journey to win gold at the 1936 Olympics. And it says this bestseller was adapted for young readers. Well, I'm young at heart, so I'm really excited. And I see that they're doing rowing. So let me just make sure. So this is in the depths of the Great Depression, and it's also the tale of 9 working class boys from the American West who at the 1936 Olympics showed the world what true grit meant, with rowers who are the sons of loggers, shipyard workers, and farmers. The University of Washington's 8-oar crew was never expected to defeat the elite East Coast teams, yet they did, going on to shock the world by challenging the German boat rowing for Adolf Hitler. So I'm excited about reading this. It sounds like a me book, because I like books that are nonfiction written in this time period. The next book I think it's me, and I heard it on Booktube, and I got it for $1. So it's called Julie and Julia. It was made into a movie too. And it's My Year of Cooking Dangerously by Julie Powell. Irresistible, of kind of Bridget Jones meets the French chef. So nearing 30 and trapped in a dead-end secretarial job, Julie Powell resolved to reclaim her life by cooking. In the span of a single year, every one of the 524 recipes in Julia Child's legendary Mastering the Art of French Cooking, her unexpected reward, not just a newfound respect for calves, liver, and aspic, but a new life lived with gusto. And I'm looking forward to reading this because it's all over BookTube, and I think it's a me book. The next book is a translated Japanese book, which I'm really getting into lately. I should have got into them earlier, being that I lived in Japan for 3 years, but this is the Nakano, I'm not sure if it's Nakano or Nakano, Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawagami. And I started reading this. This is in a large print, which I really appreciate. And it says, objects for sale at the Nakano thrift shop appear as commonplace as the staff and customers that handle them. But like those customers and staff, they hold many secrets. If examined carefully, they show the signs of innumerable extravagances, of immeasurable pleasure and pain, and of the deep mysteries of the human heart. Hitomi, the inexperienced young woman who works the register, will come to realize that love, desire, and intimacy require acceptance not only of idiosyncrasies, but also of the delicate walls between open and hidden secrets. So I started this book already, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's the genre of me books. Then I have a few classics. One is Howard's End by Em Forrester. And I'm sure everyone knows about this classic. I think I saw the movie, but I can't remember it. So it's a portrait of life in Edwardian England and the wonderful characters who inhabit the charming and country house in Hertfordshire called Howard's End. So I'm looking forward to this. I've never read the book. I saw the movie. And this one is an odd choice for me, but I got it for $1, and I think it's a reread for me. It's Aesop's Fables. And when I looked at all of the stories, I said, oh yes, this was one of the picture books that I read as a child. So fairy tales, which I don't like fantasy books, but I do like fairy tales, the original fairy tales, and this is what this is, by Aesop. And I really don't know if anybody knows who Aesop is. I know it's a long time ago, but so it has a lot of quotations. I just turned the page, and one says, "Honesty is the best policy." I don't know if that's true all the time, but I think that came from Aesop's Fables. So let's see what happens. Okay, so my next genre is Booktuber Suggestions. And when I'm talking about Booktuber Suggestions, I mean all the channels that I watch. And sometimes I don't remember. I should write it down. Which Booktuber, sometimes I know, of course, like in Sean, with Barbara Pym. And he just gave me another book called Bear. And I really want to read that. It's a Canadian classic. But sometimes I don't know because numerous booktubers have told me about these books. So I'm going to go over them pretty fast. But I know that I wouldn't have found them without all of you guys who are booktube creators and also some people who are commenters. The first book that I got, and I was very happy because I remembered it, is Tangerine. And it's a novel by Christine Mangan. And it's a juicy melodrama cast against the sultry, stylish imagery of North Africa in the 1950s. And it says fans of the talented Mr. Ripley will love this fast-paced thriller. But I know that I got this from BookTube, so I'm not going to go more into it than that. This is another one I don't remember who gave it to me, and it's All Things Cease to Appear. And it says here that Netflix has made, it's a basis for the Netflix film Things Heard and Seen, which kind of is the opposite of this in a way, but yeah. And this is also ghosts, murder, a terrifying psychotic who seems normal, and beautiful writing. Loved it, says Stephen King. I don't love Stephen King, especially his writing advice, but, he's Stephen King, so let's hear what he has to say. Well, that's what he had to say, but this is what the blurb says. Late one winter afternoon in the small town of Chosin, New York, Professor George Clare knocks on his neighbor's door with terrible news. He returned from work to find his wife, Catherine, murdered in her bed. Someone took an axe to her head while their 3-year-old daughter, Franny, played alone in her room across the hall. I started this book, and I have to say that so far, well, within the first, not even a chapter, I wasn't totally enamored, but I'm giving it a chance because, hey, Netflix. I don't have Netflix. I just said Netflix, but I don't have it. This came from a Literary Hub article that Sean again put on a video, and this one is called Morningside Heights. It's a new release, and it was on the Lit Hub's article about what we should read in the summer. Well, summer is over, but I haven't read this book yet. I got it out of the library. It's by Joshua Henkin. And I already talked about this. And basically, it's a book. It's an emotional experience. How much can befall a marriage, and what extraordinary demands must someone be met for loved ones to endure. But it's a delightful read as well because the people here are such thoroughly engaging company. That's what it says. And it has to do with Ohio-born Prue Steiner arriving in New York in 1976. Coincidentally, I arrived in Hawaii in 1976. And she follows a long tradition of young people determined to take the city by storm. I wanted to leave that city by storm in 1976, but I understand where it's coming from. And I think that she gets married, and 30 years later, something is wrong. Her husband can't concentrate. And if you look at the cover, it's a very interesting cover because his head is missing, and I guess that has a lot of meaning when it comes to someone who's losing their memory. Okay. More books. This author, Marilynne Robinson, is very big on Booktube, and I haven't read any of her books. And this is the winner of the Penn Hemingway Award, and a modern classic that brilliantly portrays the impermanence of all things, especially beauty and happiness. And it's called Housekeeping. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a favorite book. The next book is called Lila, also by Marilynne Robinson, and it's also a finalist for the National Book Award. I know that this author is beloved on Booktube, so I'm really excited I have 2 books that I got for $1 at Book Off. And Lila, homeless and alone after years of roaming the countryside, steps inside a small town Iowa church, the only available shelter from the rain, and ignites a romance and a debate that will reshape her life. And that's all I'm going to say about this right now, because I have a lot of books. The next book is Wild, and it's a memoir, and I write memoirs, so I should have read this book already. From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. This is a very highly regarded memoir, and I think the reason that I haven't read it yet is because I'm not really a hiker, so I thought I couldn't relate to it. And I know she was going through a lot, but really not the same kind of things that I went through. So it didn't interest me. But what did interest me, and that was a firecracker. So I don't know if you heard that. So it has wonderful book reviews. And basically, from what I know about it, is that she's going through some kind of, I'm not sure if it's drugs or a breakdown, and she decides to go on a long hike. And I'm not exactly sure where. It's the Pacific Crest Trail. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I also got it for $1. And it's a movie, too. And this is the movie cover, which a lot of people don't appreciate, but I don't really care. It's a nice cover. I don't know who this actress is, but I'm looking forward to reading it anyway. So my next bunch of books are, okay, so these are mysteries. And I used to read mysteries like all the time. I mean, mysteries was my go-to book. And but before I do that, I forgot a book. And this is it's not a new book. It was also a movie. It's The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. And I looked the way you say that, how to pronounce his name. I looked it up before I did this video. And it's a powerful first novel, tells the story of fierce cruelty and fierce yet redeeming love. And it's about, both transformed the life of Amir. And it's about Afghanistan. And I don't think I'm ready to read anything about Afghanistan. But if you like The Kite Runner, please tell me in the comments. I really want to know if I should read this sooner rather than later. Okay, back to the mysteries. This one I got for free at my library, and it's A Mystery of Errors by Simon Hawke. And I'm just going to say that it's historical fiction about Symington Smythe, an ostler and aspiring thespian. Try to say that 3 times fast. And Will Shakespeare, a fledgling dramatist. And the travelers meet at a roadside inn and decide to cast their lots together for fame and fortune in the cutthroat world of the London theatre in Elizabethan England. So that sounds interesting. And this is an interesting book because it takes place in Hawaii. It's a mystery that takes place in Hawaii. And it's Murder Casts a Shadow, a Hawaiian mystery by Victoria Nalani Newbold. And what it says is New Year's Eve, 1934. And it really has a nice cover of 2 people running away and their shadows, if you can see it. So New Year's Eve, 1934, while Honolulu celebrates with champagne and fireworks, someone is making away with the Bishop Museum's portrait of King Kalakaua and its curator. A series of brutal murders follows, and an unlikely pair, newspaper reporter Mina Beckwith and visiting playwright Ned Manusia, find themselves investigating a twisted tale of clues in an attempt to recover the painting and uncover the killer. So the Bishop Museum in Honolulu is a very, it has many artifacts, Hawaiian artifacts, and also takes back a lot of the artifacts that were stolen or that were given away. So it's if you come to Honolulu, it's a wonderful place to visit. And I've been there many times. Then I got a book for, I think this was free, by Jonathan Kellerman, The Museum of Desire. And some of his books were disappointing to me because of the misogyny. But I decided to give this one another try because I liked his earlier work. Now I have 2 mystery novels by Martha Grimes, who's a very famous mystery novelist, and I used to read her a lot, but I stopped, 20 years ago. I don't know when, but I think she was getting too complicated for me in the way she was writing, wasn't appealing to me, but I started reading this already, and I got these, where did I get these? For $1? Maybe free, I'm not sure, at my library. But it's a Richard Jury novel in The Stargazing. And what she does is she names her novels after pubs in England. And this one really started good. It's after a luminous blonde reboards, then leaves the double-decker bus Richard Jury is on. He follows her up to the gates of Fulham Palace and goes no further. This was, I started reading this, and Jury is on one of those double-decker buses, and he follows this woman, but he doesn't really know why he's following her. And she ends up disappeared or murdered, and I haven't got to that part. But it sounded more clean-cut than a lot of her other books. And this one I haven't started yet. It's The Case Has Altered. And Timeless, peaceful, and remote, the watery Lincolnshire fens seem an unlikely setting for murder, but 2 women, a notorious actress and a servant girl, have been killed there in the space of 2 weeks. So that sounds messed up, but maybe interesting. All right. Whew. 2 books that I couldn't put in a category really because they're not familiar to me was Jeanette Winterson's The Passion. I've read most of Jeanette Winterson's books, so I just picked this up for $1. You can even see the dollar sticker, and it has. I should have really looked more closely at the cover, and it shows a woman in a I don't know if it's a woman, but a masked illustration of a woman holding cards. And it takes place in the Napoleonic times. And what it says is that it's a modern classic that confirms her special claim to the novel. During the tumultuous years of the Napoleonic War, The Passion intertwines the destinies of 2 remarkable people, Henry, a simple French soldier who follows Napoleon from glory to Russian ruin, and Villanelle, the red-haired, web-footed daughter of a Venetian boatman whose husband had gambled away her heart. In Venice's compound of carnival, chance, and darkness, the pair meet their singular destiny. Actually, it sounds pretty good. I thought it was fantasy, but it seems more of a historical mystery or historical romance. We'll see. And the next one is Lincoln at the Bardo by George Saunders, which I heard the name of, and it was a Man Booker Prize winner. And it's about Lincoln. It starts off, I haven't read it yet, but it starts off with a historical fact that Lincoln lost a son and he went to visit him in his crypt. And then it goes on from there to be fiction. So, February 1862, with the Civil War less than 1 year old, President Lincoln's beloved 11-year-old son Willie lies gravely ill, and then he dies and is laid to rest in Georgetown Cemetery. Newspapers report that a grief-stricken Lincoln returns alone to the crypt several times to hold his boy's body. From that seed of historical truth, George Saunders spins an unforgettable story that breaks free of its realistic framework into a thrilling supernatural story that breaks free of its realistic framework into a different realm. So I'll try this. I'm really not into supernatural stuff, but yeah, I'll try it. So my last set of books are books that I had but somehow disappeared. And this book was very special to me because I got it at City Lights in San Francisco, the only time I ever went there. And it's Suite Française by Irene Demirovsky. I should have looked up her name. And so it begins. I read this already. And when I saw it for $1, I think it was $1 or even more, maybe, I had to have it because I had one that was beat up. So it begins in Paris on the eve of the Nazi occupation in 1940. And it tells the remarkable story of men and women thrown together in circumstances beyond their control. As Parisians flee the city, human folly surfaces in every imaginable way. And so this is fiction. And the author, who was Jewish, wrote this. It's very interesting what happened. She began working on Suite Française. She was already a highly successful writer living in Paris, but she was also a Jew. And in 1942, she was arrested and deported to Auschwitz, where she died. For 64 years, this novel remained hidden and unknown. And it also tells the story how she could have escaped, but she decided not to. And this is not told in the story, but this is what she witnessed living in that time period. So it's historical fiction that's a little bit of autobiographical too. So this was very sad to me, and I had to have it again. And then last book is also a Holocaust memoir, and it's Raina's Promise And I had this, and I don't know what happened to it. I think it was also very, very old. But she was sent to Auschwitz on the first Jewish transport. And Raina Hornreich and her younger sister survived the Nazi death camps for more than 3 years, which was very unusual to survive that long. In this extraordinary memoir, Raina recounts each day's struggle to fulfill the promise she made to her mother when the family was forced to split apart, a promise to take care of her sister. And she does fulfill it. And part of the reason why she was spared was because she had a low number. They're given numbers, you know. People then were treated like cattle. And this is Jews, non-Jews who were in concentration camps. So what she went through, what she survived, is harrowing, but it also has a happy ending, at least for her and her sister. So that's the end of my big, gigantic, wonderful, well, I hope you feel it's wonderful haul. And please like and subscribe down below and tell me what you think. Do you like any of these books? Do you want to read any of these books? Have you read any of these books? Please tell me in the comments. I'm always glad to hear from you. And until we meet again, and I have 2 other categories that I didn't have time to get to, and that was my mail haul. So you'll see me again soon with that. And until then, my friends, aloha oi.